One of the most historically rich buildings throughout all of Northeast Oklahoma, the Belvidere Mansion, completed in 1907, stands as an embodiment of life in Claremore over a century ago. The construction of the mansion itself was originally the project of John Bayless. The Bayless family set their eyes on Claremore, then part of Indian Territory, as it was a thriving town around the turn of the century. Claremore was even more prosperous than Tulsa at the time, with 2 railroads running through the city.
Well, Claremore by that time was a fairly busy, bustling little city. You know, like I said, Mr. Bayless had come to town and many other entrepreneurs to help build, and many things were being built at that time. What we called radium water, which was really mineral waters, had been discovered. Bathhouses were being built, and there's a big attraction for that. That was probably the largest business in Claremore at the time. The Cherokees had settled the area. This was before statehood, and so it was under Cherokee law at that time. And but that didn't keep people from coming in. It was a growing little city. In fact, it was larger than Tulsa at one time, of course, and as we know. And so there's many attractions for Claremore at the time.
Great transportation was very appealing to John and made Claremore a perfect site for establishing businesses. The Bank of Claremore, Sequoia Hotel, and Windsor Opera House were all prominent features that attracted many people to the city in the early 1900s.
Well, the Opera House was really very important to the community because it brought a lot of culture to the town. And a lot of times you don't think about the Native American people that were settling this area would be interested in the opera and the better music that they would be bringing in. But they were very well-educated people, and the Opera House was really a draw to this community.
The railroads had settled in the late 1800s, early 1900s. That brought the people into the area because of the railroads attracting businesses. So it was a growing little city at the time, and a lot of things were going on and happening. A lot of building, even though for small city limits at the time, they were expanding out and building. What we would call First Street was mainly the first Main Street of Claremore. But as the railroads came in, Third Street became where people began to build their businesses.
John and Mary raised 7 children. Mary served as a housewife, while John traveled through Indian Territory buying land, establishing banks, and other businesses. All John lacked was a proper place to live, and in early 1907, he started to build the grandest house in Rogers County. Mary Bayless, the wife of John Bayless, has been mostly overlooked by history, but not by historian Crystal Rice, who works to preserve the mansion.
She actually was born in Texas. She and her family migrated to Missouri, Cassville, Missouri, Berry County, and she was raised there about the age of 12. She moved there and then lived there in Cassville for several years. That's where she met her husband, and they had her children, and then they lived there for several years before they moved to Oklahoma Indian Territory. They sold their house in Cassville. John decided that he wanted to build up Claremore and to do more here with Claremore.
The mansion was built to symbolize the wealth that John Bayless had worked very hard for. Inside this spacious 3-floor, 9,000 square foot, 4-turret, lavishly designed brick home, there would be hand-laid tiles from an Italian craftsman, lavish white marble and pressed tin to cover the walls, and sturdy woodwork everywhere. In fact, woodwork was shipped in by rail from the St. Louis World's Fair. Tragically, John Bayless did not get to finish his dream home. He became ill on a Sunday with appendicitis. A doctor was summoned from Kansas City to perform surgery, but medical care was crude. The family was called to say their last goodbyes to their father, who passed away the following Sunday. Now it would be up to Mary to become the construction manager and complete her family home, the Belvidere.
She was a very quiet and retiring kind of woman, it says in a lot of the things that I've read about her. So she probably was very calm and quiet and kind of in the background, not very aggressive or assertive, but yet a lot of strength because she had been through so many challenging adversities. I think that she had an inner strength that even in her quiet way was instrumental in allowing her to accomplish the things that she did even after John Bayless's death.
This soft-spoken woman was up to the task. In the same year construction began, and the same year her husband died, 1907, the mansion was completed 2 weeks before Christmas.
Well, after her husband died, she became very busy with civic affairs. She became part of the Women's Temperance Union. She was the president of the Charity Association. She was a homemaker here. She was a philanthropist, too, in the neighborhood. She worked at the Baptist. She served at the Baptist Church, did a lot of volunteer things there, and the Baptist Church is, of course, right across the street from the mansion. She was part of the volunteer staff there. She actually went to the Baptist Convention in Washington, D.C.
Mary Bayless continued to live in the mansion with her children until 1919. On June 7, 1928, Mary Melissa Bayless succumbed to pneumonia that often plagued her. She was 71. A few decades after Mary's death, her home had deteriorated. By the early 1990s, the Belvidere was completely abandoned.
It, as old buildings do, it needed some significant repairs because it just needed to be updated. And in 1991, the Rogers County Historical Society purchased the building and went about, with volunteer hours, restoring the mansion and making it the beautiful home it is today.
There is another hero in the Belvidere Mansion story, but she would not come on the scene until the late 1980s, when the Belvidere Mansion was going to be torn down. Wanda Moore led the Rogers County Historical Society for 6 years, and her top mission was to drum up community and political support to save the dilapidated Belvidere.
I think she was excited about the possibility of improving the mansion, and I think other people kind of caught on to her vision of doing that. I'm sure there were skeptics. There were people that thought it would be easier and more efficient to just bulldoze the building down, but apparently she got enough people involved and like-minded with her.
The Historical Society had little time to beat the bulldozer. They had to get a loan for $75,000 to buy the property, then raise more than $250,000 to restore it.
People that came from the community, the surrounding community, to help clean up and to paint and to do the woodwork and just participate. There were lots and thousands of hours that were volunteer hours that were donated, and also, of course, the money, the financial need. There were also people that came in and actually did the work, were paid to do some of the work, the things that the volunteers didn't have the expertise to do, a lot of shoring up the building and doing some foundation work.
Wanda Moore's contribution can be seen all around the Rogers County area. Not only was she the leader who saved the mansion, but also she helped obtain the totem pole in Foyle. This famous Route 66 landmark is the tallest concrete totem pole in the world. Moore also created a Hall of Fame in the Claremore's old library and supported many other preservation projects. Wanda Moore and Mary Bayless have a lot in common. Both took charge and preserved history. Today, it's Krista Rice and other members of the Rogers County Historical Society who sacrificed their time to preserve the Belvidere. Rice preserves Mary Bayless's memory in another way.
So I impersonated her by using her picture as kind of that model to model her story. When I walk in character as Mary Bayless, the Belvidere becomes my home. I take up residence here, and it's just very more personal. Women, even in her time, were very capable and very strong women and had the pioneer spirit. She followed her husband into Indian territory. That would take a very strong-willed woman to be able to accomplish that and make that happen.
As we learn more about Claremore's history, it's important that we preserve the memory of the city's most important figures. Mary Bayless is not the first name you'll find in Claremore's history books, yet she is undoubtedly one of the most compelling figures the town has ever known.